this is just a quick summary of the formulas used in this particular spreadsheet file to do all these calculations. So the first one, average time, when I click in the cell, which is G5 in this case, I type in equals, and then I type the word average, open parentheses, and I highlighted the cells D5 to F5 because those were the time trials. Close parentheses and hit enter, and then that'll do the calculations for average time. Next, to get the period calculation, period by definition is the time for one cycle or one swing. We took the times for 10 swings. So in this spreadsheet, I have labeled that. Pay attention. It may not always be 10 swings. It could be 20. It could be 15. But whatever number of swings you have here, in order to get the period, you're going to take the average time for all the time trials. You're going to take that average time and divide by the number of swings to get the time for one swing. Okay? Remember, period is the time for one cycle. So in this case, I type equals. I click the cell that has the average time, which in this case is G5, divide by the number of cycles, which is 10, and hit enter. Okay, gravity, this is a more complicated formula to enter into the spreadsheet. The formula on paper is 4 pi squared times the length of the pendulum divided by the period squared. So I need to put that into the spreadsheet with the correct parentheses and operations, etc., so that it'll carry out the calculation correctly. So in this case, you hit equals and then open parentheses because there's a couple things that need to happen that you want to have inside parentheses. Okay, so the first thing, 4 asterisk for multiplication, and then type the letters P-I, open, close parentheses, and then use the caret 2. Okay, that is telling the spreadsheet that you want to use the number for pi, not some variation of 1/2 pi or whatever. You want to use the actual number of pi, 22/7, and you want to take that number and square it. So however many digits they can put that number out to, decimal places, that's what they're going to do in this spreadsheet. Then close parentheses. So that number, 4 times pi squared, needs to get multiplied by the length of the pendulum. Now, the length of the pendulum in this table is kept over here in this column, which is B5 in this case. So I'm just going to click that cell, all right, B5, and then last divide by the period squared. Okay, the period is this cell, which is H5, and I want to square it, so I use the caret 2. Right, I check the equation real quick. 4 pi squared times length divided by period squared. That's what I want. I hit enter, and there are my calculations for gravity. Next, percent error. Okay, another little bit complicated formula. You just have to pay attention to the parentheses. So in this case, I hit equals, start with open parentheses, and then start typing ABS. It'll give you an option for absolute value, or you could just leave it that way, ABS, and then open parentheses again. The formula for the percent error is, in this case, the standard value of gravity, which is 9.8, minus whatever you calculated as your experimental. So 9.8 minus, I click this cell, which this cell in this spreadsheet is I5, close parentheses, divided by the standard value, again, which is 9.8, close parentheses one more time. So now what this is doing is it's doing this calculation, giving you the absolute value, and then that answer needs to be converted to a percent, which is why we multiply by 100 at the end. So asterisk 100. Hit enter and get your answers for that. And then the last calculation that needs to be done in the table is period squared. which is just this value for period, which is h5 squared. So all I need to do is type in equals, click on that cell, do the caret and 2. Okay, so those are all the calculations that you need to do in order to be able to graph the period squared versus length.